Hey folks, I'm Red Monster SC, and in this video we're going to cover the changes to mining gameplay in Alpha 3.20. Alpha 3.20 dropped onto the PTU last week, and it's currently available for Wave 1 and 2 of PTU testers. There are a couple of significant mining gameplay changes that I wanted to cover in detail here, as people start getting into that PTU, testing it out for yourselves. The first and most notable change is the mineral distribution updates. That controls what materials we can find and where. Tier 3 common elements are unchanged, and Tier 1 and Q-type distributions are also unchanged. The main difference here is the variety of Tier 2s that can spawn in each deposit type. In 3.19, you could have a chance for all 5 of the Tier 2 elements to spawn in any deposit type. Now they've reduced the recipes so that only 1 or 2 of those Tier 2 elements can appear per deposit. The net result here is going to be a better chance at finding the higher value Tier 1 and Q material, and a bit more focused results per location. I've got an updated mineral location table based on these PTU results, and I'm not expecting it to change much before it goes live, but I will be doing a refresh once 3.20 goes onto the live environment. The second most notable change is that the way that instability is calculated has changed. Previously, instability was a weighted average of the composition of each deposit regardless of the rock's size. So you could have a very small rock with a concentration of quantanium with a very high instability. With the update in 3.20, instability is now additive based on the amount of material rather than a weighted average. The scale of instability has also changed. Previously it would go between 0 and 10, where now quantanium is up at 1,000, our Tier 1s are at 550 to 700, our Tier 2s are around 400, and our Tier 3 common elements range between 0 to 50. Based on the new calculations, larger rocks are going to have a higher instability because you have more of that material contributing to the additive instability factor. That also means that smaller rocks, like those that you can solo with a prospector, are going to have a more manageable instability factor. And of course, this all depends on how much of those Tier 1 and Tier 2 materials contribute to that higher instability. I'm actually really liking this change because the instability factor will now scale with the size and relative value of the rock. Your higher value materials are contributing more to that instability, but if you're dealing with a prospector-sized rock, you should be able to counteract that instability using the single laser and maybe 1 or 2 modules you have equipped. I think this is also going to provide unique challenges for multi-crew vehicles, where the larger sized rocks will have that higher instability, and you're going to need to be better coordinated with your crew to make sure to balance that out, and it will make those gadgets more of a necessity as you get to the larger size, higher value rocks, where you see that instability really take off. There are some changes to ground vehicles that are going to affect the Grey Cat Rock and the ROC DS. However, the mining mode toggle on the Grey Cat Rock is not working right now in PTU, so I've been unable to test so far. That being said, some of the changes I look forward to testing are the update to Hadanite. Its instability was reduced from 10 down to 5, and combining that with the way that instability is calculated now, I think that's going to be a welcome change. A lot of people were really turned off of rock mining during 3.19 because they increased the instability for Hadanite to 10, which made it nearly impossible to mine, and they didn't really give us any tools to mitigate that instability. The result was people just getting frustrated with Hadanite mining and turning to Aphorite or Dolovine that provided a more consistent experience. But I think the way that they initially increased instability on us was a bad design decision, and it turned a lot of people off. So I'm hopeful that this change puts things back onto the right track, just slightly disappointed that I can't test it out for myself right now. And the last of what I consider those major changes is scanning, which should really come as no surprise since it seems like scanning changes every patch, at least over the last 2 years. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a lot to report on this because scanning is pretty broken in the PTU in the current build. Now, as strange as this might sound, this kind of gives me hope that they're working on an improved scanning system that will be more consistent between patches, because I think we can all agree that scanning hasn't really been in a good place recently. I do expect that these current issues will be resolved during PTU and before 3.20 hits the live environment, so I'll be keeping an eye out, and hopefully we'll have an update on how scanning and specifically the surveying mechanic works within the mining gameplay loop. And lastly, there are a few relevant minor changes that I have experienced within 3.20 that you might want to be aware of. The first is that the maximum optimum zone size has been hard capped at 50% in the game files. Now, I've seen scattered reports that the cap isn't working on the current PTU build, but I would expect that to get fixed by the time that 3.20 gets pushed to live. That means that the Jolly Green Giant build, where you're maximizing your optimum charge window, is going to go away. The next minor change is that there are actually several key binding updates that may displace or unset some of your common functions that you're used to. While this normally isn't a big deal, and we do see key binding updates all the time, I personally had to reset several of my mining-specific key binds because of these changes this patch. Just do yourself a favor and spend a couple of minutes confirming your key bindings are all set up before you go out on your first mining expedition. And the final update, which is probably my favorite, is that the composition readout now shows the SCU total for the rock and its subfragments. This is a nice little bonus because with 3.19 updates to mineral densities, we no longer had the ability to quickly convert mass to SCU. This made it difficult to estimate how much material you actually could find from a specific rock, and it didn't make sense that a mining-specific vehicle wouldn't provide you with that level of information. While it does seem like a simple change, I definitely appreciated it and thought it was something worth mentioning. And that's it for the Star Citizen updates, but there are two specific things I wanted to give a quick call out for. First, I wanted to thank you guys, my subscribers, for getting this channel up to 10,000 subscribers. We just hit that recently, so thank you all. That's a very great milestone, and I couldn't have done it without you. And the second and more personal announcement is that my wife and I welcomed a new baby girl at the beginning of August. We've been enjoying our time as first-time parents, and I'm looking forward to having a full-time dedicated laser operator in the coming years. And there you have it, my recap of mining changes you should watch for in the upcoming 3.20 release. Drop a comment below with your favorite change that's coming with this update, or the highest rock instability you've seen so far. You can connect with me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and Patreon using the links in the description. Thank you for my patrons for your ongoing support, funding channel giveaways, and other perks for the Red Legion community. And finally, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because the only constant in game development is change, and I'm here to help you absorb it all.